It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
There are many known ways to control the weather, and the best way to steer it seems to be with the NEXRAD Doppler Weather Radar Network.
The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NEXRAD network of transmitter installations. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be. Where there are no blue flashes, there is no transmission, thus no repelling effect, thus no resistance for a migrating storm. Translation: a migrating storm will be hindered from moving toward frequency transmissions and will easily migrate in a direction with no transmissions. So again, I ask, was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just an act of nature, or was it engineered?
Whatever happened during Hurricane Helene, our own government is actively killing the victims of the flooding.
We're in Nashville, and I saw 2 Air Force helicopter 60s, and I knew they were PJs just looking at them. And I went up to them, like, hey guys, like, what are y'all doing? And like, this is what you need to be doing. This is how I'm finding people. And they're like, we can't go. We're waiting on Title 10 orders. And I'm like, what? They can't get any authority. There's military helicopters all over here sitting on the ground, and they can't do nothing. Even my JSOC boys in Fayetteville, they can't get orders to come out here. It is just the most disgusting thing, and they're killing these people. And I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know what kind of conspiracy. I've heard so many things, whatever you want to come up with, but they are literally allowing these people to fucking die in the mountains right now because we can't get helicopters.
Not only is the government standing down, they are stopping others from helping. And there are even reports that the confiscated donations are being delivered to sanctuary cities.
So I'm here in Boone, North Carolina. I'm at the staging area. I volunteered myself and my canines to come up and do some search and rescue efforts. Obviously, you see all my equipment. So we've been told to just turn around and go the opposite direction, because what they're doing is they're confiscating everything. Like, they would confiscate all of my gear, my car, my dogs, like literally everything. There are some people who have been tracking these FEMA agents and what they do with these supplies after. And these are people that are directly associated with the group that I'm volunteering with. And essentially what they're doing is they're taking these supplies to sanctuary areas for illegal migrants and giving it all to them.
An unmarked black helicopter was caught on camera deliberately causing thousands of dollars of damage to a donation and support center. The government is no longer trying to hide. They are now killing us out in the open. And the radical Marxists working at FEMA are not really concerned with most of the people.
LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that, it's just compounding on itself.
You know, the shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity.
We the people point out that they are killing us, and they complain that it's hurtful.
What kind of impact has this had on the recovery effort?
It has a tremendous impact on the comfort level of our own employees to be able to go out there, but it's also demoralizing.
Right after the government says they don't have enough money for the American people stricken by the floods, and that another storm is coming, they announce another $157 million to the people of Lebanon. Joe Biden makes another Freudian slip and says the government's response will be to increase the number and intensity of these extreme weather events.
Response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be where we're going to be use all the resources available to the government to do it.
And many are now saying that this is exactly what they did with Milton, which is now expected to be catastrophic. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
All right. Hello and welcome. It's Doug Diamond, and you are at another Diamond Report Live. I'm hoping that you had a good week this week. My week's been pretty good. It is, 10:05 p.m. on October the 13th, 2024. And we're going to take a look at the news. Got a few things to converse about tonight. Just a little bit, I guess. And yeah, I hope you guys have had a good week. It's been an interesting one, I think, and we're all waiting, sort of semi-holding our breaths, metaphorically speaking, of course, for the October surprise. Is it going to be a big one or just a series of little ones? We don't know, but we all know something's coming. So anyway, let's start with this first report here from Hal Turner's website, halturnerradioshow.com. Newest article on his site, at least 17 dead and 51 plus injured IDF soldiers in drone attacks against the IDF. They've got a picture of this guy. It says assassinated ? It's an unconfirmed report. The IDF chief of staff was a target of the attack, but Hal's not 100% sure that he was actually hit. So anyway, this is what he's saying. At least 17 Israeli soldiers are dead and at least 51 injured who've been transported to several different hospitals after Hezbollah launched 2 drone attacks against 2 IDF sites inside Israel. As of 5 p.m. Eastern today, Sunday, October 13th, when the story was published, the attack took place about 5 hours before that. So earlier today, 36 have arrived at one hospital. 5 are in critical condition. And then it's got the different hospitals listed here as to which ones received which IDF military men. And it says all of the above were reported to be eating in a base mess hall. And the aftermath is seen below in the video. So there's a little video clip here, super short one. Hezbollah also struck an IDF gathering point with a drone, causing more than 25 casualties. So what is this going to mean? Of course, that's the next question, is how will Israel respond? Will it be all-out war? Well, that's what they want, just giving them yet another excuse to do exactly that. So we'll have to keep an eye on things and see where they go from here. But we all know Israel really wants their war. And if Lindsey Graham and company are cheering them on like they always are, then my guess is they will probably get their war very soon. So, and then this next one on Hal's site, updated earlier today, Israel ordered the UN peacekeepers to move away from the Lebanon border, large-scale bombing to start, but the Irish are refusing to move. Says Bibi has ordered Irish, Italian, and Ghanaian peacekeepers from the UN to move 5 kilometers north as he announces his plan for a full-scale bombardment of the Lebanese border. Ireland has said they refuse to move from their peacekeeping posts. Peacekeepers from the UN in Lebanon witnessed a serious violation by Israeli forces in the early hours of Sunday morning when 3 Israeli military units crossed the blue line and entered Lebanese territory near the village of Ramya, UN peacekeepers announced. Says in addition, 2 Israeli tanks knocked down the main gate on the territory of the UN facility and entered inside, putting UN officials at risk. So it sounds like the Israelis are just going to go to war against the whole of the UN. But, as always, it's okay if they do it. That's what we've all found out. If Israel does it, it's perfectly fine. They can do anything they want. We all know this. And then Hal's reporting absolute silence from the NATO meeting that was supposed to happen. Now, this was, if you missed it, this was the meeting, the top secret meeting that was, I guess, not so top secret, where they discuss using long-range weapons to strike deep inside Russia. So here's what Hal's saying. Today's NATO meeting in Germany has an information seal on it so tight I cannot even get a hint at what, if anything, was decided regarding Ukraine's desire to use West-supplied long-range missiles to hit Russia. Now, this is dated yesterday. Whatever took place at that NATO meeting is apparently a forbidden subject. No one is talking. Not a hint, not a parallel construction, not even a coy hypothetical story. Zip, zero, nada. I can't even find out if anything was actually decided. I will persevere. So he's just saying it was a super tight-lipped situation, and my point, I think I left a comment earlier today on his page here that just said that if they decided not to attack inside Russia, it wouldn't be a secret. So that's kind of the bottom line there, if you ask me. And then the last one from House Site, retired Secret Service guy, i.e. Dan Bongino, with podcast says have preps for 3 to 6 months, not days, of survival. So pretty interesting when you got Dan Bongino saying that. So Hal's just saying he's agreeing with what Bongino's saying. Faraday bags to protect against an EMP attack, generator, supply of gasoline, water filtration, water bottles, firearms and ammo, potassium iodine, water disinfectant, alcohol and peroxide, antibiotics. Bongino advises everyone to prepare and have enough resources to survive for 3 to 6 months. I didn't see food listed. Is food listed? No. So I guess you're supposed to forego food. Not important. Yeah, I think food would be on there too. So anyways, that's according to Hal, and that's the top 4 stories I have on his site. Feel free to look at that if you want, halturnerradioshow.com. And then needtoknow.news, top articles I pulled off of there. Must see evidence that governments can control the weather, including hurricanes. You don't say. This is something that I have known for quite some time, and I know you guys mostly have as well. And we talk about this ad nauseum on this particular show, because as you guys know, I work with Mr. Dane at geoengineeringwatch.org, help him manage the website and edit videos and audio and all kinds of stuff for him. So have worked with him for many years at this point, I guess over 10 years, going on 11. And yeah, I've known that whole time, really, that modifying the weather is absolutely what's going on. And it's not even just a matter of modifying the weather, it's complete climate engineering, which, of course, they've lost control of that quite some time ago. Anyway, on needtoknow.news, he's reporting on Alex reporting about this. AJ provides video and news articles and government documents that show that the U.S. government can control the weather. Yes, but old Sleepy Joe just came out a few days ago and said that's just preposterous. There's no way that's happening, and that's just not possible. So figure that one out, huh? News articles and government documents that show that the U.S. government can control the weather. The Stanford Research Certificate in the late 1960s shows that the Pentagon, in association with the Department of Energy, can completely control hurricanes and can create, strengthen, steer, weaken, or kill them. Jones said that the Biden and Harris administration are in control of the recent hurricanes. By 1965, the U.S. government had secretly certified that they had total control over hurricanes and typhoons. By 1967, the Pentagon certified and confirmed it. In 2015, then CIA Director Brennan admitted to the U.S. government that they were secretly using geoengineering via aerosol spraying to combat phony global warming. That's what the author here of this particular article is saying. Bill Gates, who advocates for policies to combat climate change, owns a patent on weather manipulation for hurricane prevention. Yes, there's many patents on weather modification and climate engineering. I think we're in the several hundred on GeoWatch. If you look up geoengineeringwatch.org, along the top bar up there is a link for patents, and they're all there, all that we've found, and then some. Jones said that Ben Livingston, the admitted father of weather weapons, was a meteorologic engineer and pilot for the U.S. government who led weather control operations in World War II up through the 1990s when he commanded the Air Force in weather manipulation. He was the first person to fly into a typhoon and seed the clouds. Other governments are using weather manipulation. In 1977, the U.S. signed a weather manipulation treaty through the UN. Weather manipulation can benefit some regions at the expense of other regions. Yep, that's exactly right. But they're all cooperating behind the scene. So the whole idea of all of these governments not really getting along with each other is just sort of a bogus idea. It's just all for the consumption of the American media and the press worldwide and for the people. We're supposed to believe that there's no collusion between the governments across the world, at least not from the standpoint of the weather warfare and the climate engineering that's happening, which, of course, if you've been looking at this as long as I have, you would know that that is absolutely not true. They're absolutely cooperating with each other. And to take it a step further, my friend Anthony Patch has talked about how also the governments of the world are cooperating with the little known aspect of something called CERN. They're also all in it together. Yes, is what Emily's saying. They are. They're all in it together, and they're also cooperating on CERN. So, anyways, it's not quite as we're being told, but of course, many of us know that. So let's see here. Was Hurricane Helene subject to weather modification and other curious questions? Greg Reese covers WeatherMod via NextRad Doppler Weather Radar Network. Delayed government emergency response reports that FEMA is confiscating supplies and giving them to migrants in sanctuary cities. Video of an unmarked black helicopter damaging supplies and radical FEMA employees prioritizing LGBTQIA people. Mr. Dane said that he had a conference call with the representatives and senators from the Carolinas and advised them of weather modification via manipulation of atmospheric pressure zones that affects hurricanes. He claims that Helene was not a natural weather event and claims it is weather warfare. But there really are not any natural events anymore, are there? So, yes, the video guy said they are microwaving California. Yeah, there's so many strange and crazy things going on right now. So, anyways, but I would definitely agree with most of what was said there. And then here is Mr. Dane on with retired Colonel Douglas McGregor's his podcast. So he was on with McGregor recently as well. So those are embedded videos in this particular page, needtoknow.news. Then we have the Afghan national arrested for plotting ISIS terror attack on Election Day. Guess what? He worked for the CIA. This picture kind of cracks me up. It's like a really bad photocopy of a photocopy. I guess, there's not enough really high-quality cameras in the world anymore, so they had to use a photocopy of a photocopy. It's like the old Lee Harvey Oswald type of thing. It's like, couldn't they get a clearer picture? Nasir Tawhidi, 27, an Afghan national, was arrested by the FBI in Oklahoma over an alleged terror plot. He reportedly was employed as a security guard for the CIA, but not a CIA informant. No, of course not. A.G. Garland said that the suspect plotted to commit a violent attack in the name of ISIS. He allegedly told investigators his attack was planned for Election Day, targeting large gatherings of people. My guess is in red areas. Doesn't say that, but just a guess. During which he and a juvenile relative were expected to die as martyrs. Says he had a special immigrant visa, which are given to Afghans who worked with the U.S. in Afghanistan after they passed DHS screening. Over 70,000 Afghans were granted special immigrant visas by the Biden-Harris administration after the U.S. pull out and run for cover from Afghanistan. It says, update, an Afghan national inspired by ISIS who was arrested Monday for plotting a terrorist attack against large crowds on Election Day had previously worked for the CIA. But they're saying he was a security officer because you want him in charge of your security, I'm sure. The old Lee Harvey Oswald shot. So anyway, very strange. But yeah, if you're going to go vote in person on Election Day, which is coming up, it's only, 3 weeks away? I guess it's around 3 weeks away, something like that. Just watch your surroundings. Keep your head on a swivel, as they say. Just be very careful. All right, and then the next article on needtoknow.news, conspiracy revealed government and NGOs flooded small American town with 2,000 Haitian migrants. You don't say. And this is happening all over the country, not just this particular one they're talking about here. This is talking about Charleroi, Pennsylvania, which you may have heard of. There's a video embedded here as well. It's a small blue-collar town with 4,000 residents that rely on factory jobs. The Biden-Harris administration brought in as many as 2,500 migrants from Haiti over a short period of time. The migrants compete for their jobs while several plants are shutting down. So, it's just the same old story over and over and over. We keep hearing this with, different small towns in rural America or different suburbs across America. This is something that is a broken record at this point. But, yeah, it's happening everywhere. And we all know it. And you can thank the Biden-Harris administration, regime, whatever you want to call them, for exactly that. They are bringing them all in. So anyway, yeah, and it's not a coincidence, I don't think, that the press secretary is of Haitian descent, which is something we talked about last week. Karine Jean-Pierre. She is also from Haitian descent. She was born in France, but her relatives were from Haiti. And now we are being flooded with people from Haiti. But I'm sure it's a coincidence. Ron Paul, American neocons get their Iran war as Congress sleeps. Over the weekend, the commander of the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, arrived in Israel to coordinate, quote-unquote, with the Israeli military and plan a military strike against Iran. They've been wanting the war with Iran for a long time. Think about that for a moment. One of the highest-ranking officers in the U.S. military is planning a war in a foreign country against another foreign country, which will be fueled by American weapons, American intelligence, and American tax dollars. The neocons have wanted this war for decades, and for them, it's always America last. This war will make us less free, less safe, and much poorer. And that's saying a lot. There will be no benefits at all, only a downside. Yes, we all get to die in a thermonuclear explosion. So, says last week, Harris said she considers Iran to be America's greatest adversary. No, I think it's the Democrat Party. It's the greatest adversary. And the even more so than that, the globalists that are running the show. Anyway, here's a video here embedded with Mr. Ron Paul. So that is needtoknow.news, and one more from there. I thought this was just a sign of the times. This is where we are in this crazy world right now. Lawless narco state, Mexican mayor is decapitated just 6 days into office. So this poor guy, 6 days. So this is the cultural enrichment that the Biden-Harris administration wants to bring to all of us. The drug runners, the narcos, lawless narcos, they want to run everything. And indeed they do in certain areas. The severed head of this guy, Alejandro Arcos, the newly elected mayor in Chilpancingo in the southern Mexican state of Guerrero, was found on top of his vehicle just 6 days into his tenure. Before he took office, his intended minister of security was killed. Last Thursday, his secretary general was killed, shot inside the middle of the city in the afternoon. Mexican reports suggest Arcos might have inherited enemies. You think? The election that brought him into office was bloody, and at least 6 candidates died. About 41 total were killed in that cycle. 41. According to reports, Alejandro Arcos Catalan refused to make deals with the drug cartels. Instead proposed peace. Yeah, you get killed for peace. Yes, just ask Jesus about that one, right? Footage of the gruesome scene was shared on X, highlighting Mexico as a lawless narco state run by ultra-violent cartels. Just 3 days before Arcos' killing, another city official was also killed. The Biden-Harris regime has been criticized for its open borders policy that has further empowered and enriched the violent cartels via massive growth in their human trafficking operations. The open border has also left the U.S. vulnerable to violent crime. Yes, and they want more of that. So a vote for Harris will bring you more of that. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And yes, there is video of the poor guy, what's left of him, on the top of a vehicle. And I wouldn't advise watching it, but it is there. Can't show that to you on live stream. It's a good way to get shut down. But it is there. So, and then top headlines from technocracy.news. Top 3 headlines tonight. The demiurge of technocracy, recreating the world in their image. This is a deep dive into the thinking of technocrat elitists, which rests on Gnosticism, occultism, and esotericism. Technocracy and transhumanism seek to remake the physical world in their own image, including all living things and all non-organic matter. They have openly stated that they are taking over evolution as the intelligent designers while ignoring the original designer, i.e. God. So that is one of the headlines. And then this one, mask off, globalist technocrats reveal plan to kill free speech. They are definitely in that process right now. Thanks to some modicum of free speech, they failed to take total control. Now it is crystal clear that free speech is on the chopping block. In January 2024, this person pointed out, they pointedly said that free speech would be dead by the end of the year. It is soon, and coming demise that is on track. So I'm guessing that's probably a article by Patrick Wood. He is the site manager for technocracy.news. And then one more from here. Disinformation isn't the problem. Government cover-ups and censorship are the problem. Technocracy is principally the science of social engineering, made possible by advanced technology. Your brain shuts down when overloaded with lies and confusion, leaving you in a psychotic state. Technocracy has done away with the old-fashioned gulag, surrounded by barbed wire and armed guards. Oh, I think they still have that too, though, don't you? Replacing them with a virtual electronic exile and imprisonment in place. Yes. And you get your 2 minutes of hate, or whatever it was, from 1984. It looks like a scene from 1984. Anyways, those are the top 3 articles on technocracy.news. And then this one is one that you may have seen. I don't know. This happened a few days ago now. 2 days ago, I guess. Says, this is from Roz Alerts on Twitter X. Dozens of people are actively looting and breaking into a cargo train. Somebody tweeted here and said, yeah, it looks like ants at a picnic. So this is just a cargo train that has been broken into, and everything that's inside is being confiscated, stolen. So very strange. But I don't know if those are flat screen TVs that they're helping themselves to or what exactly, but they think that's important, whatever it is. Ants at a picnic. So that's welcome to Chicago, I guess. That's where they're at. You can see the ants at a picnic. That's kind of what's happening. Yeah, how did they know which one had the TVs? That's a good question. And that is what it looks like, but who knows? I guess they must have the inside information on the TV rail cars. Looks like they have a truck to load them all on and everything. So, I don't know. Very, very interesting situation there unfolding. So this was from a couple days ago, apparently. Now, someone on here is claiming that this is old footage, but I don't know. I've seen several other people report about this being something new happening, and my guess is it is new just because it is Chicago, and Chicago, as we all know, is falling apart very quickly. All right, and then Revolver.news, Kamala's speech at a Detroit NAACP dinner is the most chilling, draconian thing you'll ever hear.
And will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
She needs the big red backdrop behind her like Biden had, remember, a few months back, or maybe a year ago, more now, I don't know, it was a while ago. She needs the Hitler background. But, yeah. Yep, it is definitely very chilling. And then we told them freedom of speech threatens freedom of speech. So, yeah, there's the party right there. Kamala has toned down her radical anti-American rhetoric, but that's only because she's trying to fool the American people into thinking she's some moderate Democrat. Instead of pushing her draconian censorship agenda herself, she's gotten her surrogates out there doing her dirty work. Well, again, she's just a puppet. I don't think she has the mental fortitude to actually run these programs herself. I know you guys would agree with that, but yeah, I mean, she's certainly a willing accomplice, a willing puppet to be used as a useful idiot, and that she is. This is the clip that we mentioned last week, I think it was. They admitted it. Hillary Clinton says that they will lose total control, quote unquote, if social media isn't engaging in censorship. Yeah. So yeah, that old byproduct of the Constitution known as free speech has got to go, so they say. Trump just put his money where his mouth is for Hurricane Milton, while Kamala tosses back brewskis. So you guys might have seen this, another cringe clip of Kamala taking a very small sip of a beer. Trump's generous offer to help. He's housing nearly 300 workers at his Miami hotel so they can focus on restoring power to Floridians. Says Florida and the Gulf Coast have been hit hard by hurricanes and savage storms. Unfortunately, FEMA and the Biden-Harris regime have let Americans down, ignoring their desperate cries for help, while spending U.S. tax dollars on illegals and foreigners, and I would add foreign wars, completely forgetting the people here at home who need it most, who happen to be in red areas. That's the hopelessly globalist legacy of Kamala Harris. Thankfully, Trump is the leader for the people. He's put his money where his mouth is to help Florida as they recover from Hurricane Milton. While Milton was not the Cat 6 storm that many feared, thank God, it still packed a punch for Florida, the people who are still reeling from Hurricane Helene. Tragically, it remained a deadly storm. At least 14 people have been confirmed dead. I think it's a higher number than that now, unfortunately. So talking about Trump, I guess, giving accommodations here to 275 linemen from FPL at Trump Doral as they get ready to respond to the hurricane aftermath of Milton. Yeah, it says this is what you can call true leadership. Kamala and Tampon Tim should probably take notes. Oh, I don't think they will be. While Trump is putting his money where his mouth is and actually helping Americans affected by these savage hurricanes, Harris is busy appearing on a politically biased, unfunny, late-night talk show, sipping on cheap beer while Americans are wading through floodwaters. Here it's right here. Stephen Colbert's show was the show she was on. She popped the top of it and barely even touched it to her lips. It was funny. But, yeah. Maybe she's got a drinking problem. People have been saying that. All right, so that's on revolver.news. And then a few more links that I've found jumping off of that same site. Bidenomics, 7-Eleven to close nearly 450 stores nationwide. Meaning soon, like I think as early as next year. Let's see. Under the proposed measures, 444 locations of 7-Eleven will be shut down due to a fall in sales, high inflation, and a decrease in cigarette purchases. And also Bidenomics. So that's on americasfirstreport.com. And then one more from that same site. Biden-Harris DOJ sues Virginia for removing non-citizens from the voter rolls. Yeah, you can't have that. I mean, how are they going to win without that? Justice Department on Friday announced it is suing the state of Virginia for removing non-citizens from its voter rolls. I mean, how ridiculous is that sentence to even have to read it, let alone comprehend it? I mean, everything is upside down, just as the Bible tells us. Says the Justice Department announced today that it's filed a lawsuit against the state of Virginia, the Virginia State Board of Elections, and Virginia Commissioner of Elections to challenge a systematic state program aimed at removing voters from its election rolls too close to the November 5th election. Yeah, because then they can't cheat quite as much without all of the illegals on there. And dead people and whoever else. So I'm sure they will still try and find a way to win if there is an election. Biden sabotaging Harris's presidential campaign. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on things. You can kind of see it a little bit. I don't know how much he's really capable of it, given his mental acuity at the moment, which is basically about the same as a ham sandwich, as they say, or maybe a stack of paper clips or something. He's about that smart. Biden sabotaging Kamala Harris's presidential campaign after being forced to drop re-election bid. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's trying to get back at her in some way. Who knows? A2 Biden says Biden is so bitter about being forced to drop his re-election bid by top members of his own party that he's deliberately sabotaging Harris's campaign, according to a growing chorus of political pundits. Now, this is on the New York Post. So, interesting that they're even talking about this. Since being pressured out of the race in July over fears about declining cognitive abilities, Biden has done little for Harris beyond endorsing her and has largely been a no-show at the VP's campaign events. Yeah. He's got his nap mask, got the marks there on his face in that particular picture. Anyways, I thought that was a little odd that it's the New York Post bothering to report this. And then liberal activist slams Obama's patronizing attack on black men. High-profile left activist reproached former President Barack Obama after he lectured black male voters for committing the atrocious crime of not supporting Harris. Yeah. And he has done that recently. And continues to. Kind of like the old Biden thing where it says, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Remember when he did that back in 2020? Yeah. Well, Obama is taking it a step further. We've got a couple memes on that too, actually, when we get there. Look at all the black guys who came to see Obama speak. Wow. And you can see there's tons of them. I mean, I count 0. There's a couple black people, but no men. You can see the people who really worship this guy right here. This guy back here, this guy right here, this guy right here really likes him. But notice their skin color. They love him. And look at her. Says, he's obviously not here for me, she's thinking. So cringe. Yes. They love their Obama. And then on Breitbart, police, this is one of those things that you might want to pay close attention to, because this is something that might be affecting all of us in some way or another, back to the illegals and the immigrants invading small-town USA. Well, according to Breitbart, or as Hal Turner calls it, Breitbart, police say elderly Michigan man murdered and his wife was tied up by suspects posing as utility company workers. An elderly Michigan man was murdered and his wife was tied up in their home after letting in a pair of men posing as utility company employees. 72-year-old man was killed just before noon on Friday in Rochester Hills, Oakland County. So again, wow. Well, this is in Michigan, so. And here's the police press release about it. Deputies responded to the home after receiving a 911 call from the wife, who they found bound and duct taped, and fearing that her husband had been abducted. If only it had been that good. It says upon searching the basement of the house, cops found his body, which was so gruesome that investigators have not yet identified if he was bludgeoned or shot to death. Ring doorbell footage obtained by the sheriff's office, which they said they got no thanks to Ring, shows a man wearing a neon work vest and N95 mask saying, "Wear DTE, we're trying to look for gas leaks." Here's a picture. This is from Oakland County's Sheriff's Office. Again, this is Michigan. Here's a picture of one of our homicide suspects. Even though they are attempting to conceal their faces and identity, it's likely if you know this person, you will recognize even with the mask on. A reward is possible. Either call our office or 1-800-SPEAK-UP. So there he is here. There's some video footage here. Detroit-based energy company, DTE. So they were posing as DTE employees, and they got in. These people let them in. So there's something to keep an eye out there. Keep a sharp eye out on people just randomly knocking on your door asking to inspect things. I know you guys know this, but there are many people out there that aren't too swift on things like that. Donald Trump suggests Barack Obama will be voting for him in the 2024 election because he thinks Kamala is a low IQ person. Yes, but Obama is still going to be voting for Comrade Kamala for sure. So hopefully, I'm guessing he's probably just joking, but pretty funny. Trump took to Truth Social and bizarrely suggested that Obama would be casting his vote for him, not Harris. Obama admits a total lack of enthusiasm for Kamala, especially with black men. The 78-year-old politician wrote on Friday, October 11th, "I think Obama will be voting for me because he doesn't like the fact that Kamala is an extremely low IQ person." Trump's remarks came after Obama called out fellow black men who were hesitant to support Harris while speaking at the Harris campaign office in Pittsburgh. Well, obviously, he's not going to be right about that, but it is kind of funny. He does have a good sense of humor. And then speaking of Kamala or however you say it, I thought this was kind of an interesting little clip. This is Harmeet Dillon on with Tucker.
How did she pronounce her first name? She's on video pronouncing it Kamala and Kamala, two different ways.
I remember her putting the emphasis on the second syllable, so it was like Kamala. Kamala was how she pronounced it.
Not Kamala.
Kamala is actually how Indians pronounce it. She's from a Brahmin family. Her mother is Brahmin, and so, high caste
Brahmin.
Background.
I thought she was oppressed.
She's a shapeshifter, like I said.
How weird that is.
Yeah, she's oppressed. Well, she's pretending to be black, remember? Remember, Tucker? Yeah, Susan saying Swifties, not Swift. So confusing. Yeah, sorry about that. That's just an old expression. You probably heard it. Not too swift, not too smart. I didn't mean Taylor Swift. We all know that Taylor Swift is not too swift either. But she's voting for Kamala or however you say it. But it's interesting that this lady, Harmeet, is saying that Kamala is how the Indians pronounce it. And the crazy whack-tard liberals out there, I've even seen bumper stickers that have literally a comma on it, as you have to know how to pronounce her name correctly, because surely you're going to be voting for her, kind of thing. And it's interesting that the pronunciation, by the Indian pronunciation, is Kamala, according to what she's saying here. Again, Harmeet Dillon, who is being interviewed by Mr. Carlson there. So, yeah, interesting. But she's so oppressed. We all know that she's super oppressed. She didn't grow up in a household full of PhDs and a silver spoon in her mouth or anything like that. No, not at all. So, anyway, interesting little clip there. DHS Chief Mayorkas spends under 6 hours in Helene Hit, North Carolina, before bolting to grab sushi at a DC Nobu. Says complete failure. This is a video clip of him out shopping. Not sure where he was shopping. Says something's fishy about this. Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas spent less than 6 hours visiting hurricane-hit areas of North Carolina on Thursday before retreating to Washington to grab an early takeout dinner at Nobu. So he had to get his sushi. He put in his 5 hours, and I would say most of that would probably be traveling on our dime, right? And yeah, he put in his time that day, and he'll never be going back. So says a photographer snapped the apparently peckish Mayorkas, still wearing his navy blue suit and white dress shirt, exiting the Northwest DC establishment just 30 minutes after it opened. So he was ready to get him some sushi. All that helping those poor people who lost everything just took it all out of him. So luckily we at least bought him dinner and a plane flight there and back. Man, is this guy not one of the worst criminals in history of this country, or what? I mean, he is the figurehead of the stand down of allowing the illegals to come in. I mean, short of Biden and Harris themselves, he is basically you might say the third in charge there, maybe even the second in charge, because we all know Biden's not in charge of anything. So, man, but yeah, he had to get him some grub before he did anything else that day. So insane. Speaking of more insanity, Gwen Walls is somehow winning the award for most cringe person on the Kamala Walls campaign. Imagine how that, if that's true, imagine how bad it actually is. It says it's stiff competition, this person says. This person's asking for this to be a skit. I mean, it's real life, but it seems like Saturday Night Live material already. This is Gwen Walls in Beloit, I guess.
Whole thing. I do. When the Scarlet team comes on the field, we will all stand up and cheer. To the other team we'll never yield, and we won't forget we're here. We will fight for victory and win. We will conquer every...
Make her stop. Make her stop. She is absolutely insane. But she is married to Tim Walz, so what do you expect? Sorry to subject you to that, but I thought you needed to see it. So yeah, that is about as cringe as it gets, as they say. But she is married to the horse whisperer, as we know. All right. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. All right. So let's see. Reclaim the Net. ReclaimTheNet.org. Top headlines on there. Democrat Congresswoman tells social media platforms to quickly and decisively censor hurricane, quote, misinformation. And again, Mayorkas is the figurehead, the chief of that needing to happen, they think. Hurricane misinformation. Not just about geoengineering, but probably about FEMA's response and so forth. They're calling all that truth that's coming out misinformation because we can't know about it. Telegram's founder arrest and Brazil's censorship sparks censorship legal battle with U.S. agencies. And then wiretaps exposed how encryption backdoors open the floodgates for hackers. And I would say also the U.S. government and the various agencies associated with it. In a world where encryption backdoors threaten security, defending privacy becomes not just a stance, but a necessity. Yes, but you can't defend against Uncle Sam, can you? Facebook faces heat for blocking report on the arrest of U.S. journalist in Israel. So U.S. journalists arrested in Israel. Truth Social expands its reach, begins to roll out new Truth Plus streaming app. So it sounds like Mr. Trump is expanding things with Truth Social. I don't know if you guys are on there. I don't use it personally, but yeah. And then free speech on trial. RFK Jr. battles Biden over alleged social media censorship. I would say that with RFK's stance on things, he's most definitely being censored, as are many of us. And other top headlines on ReclaimTheNet.org, and then Liberty Beacon. Let's see. RFK Jr. focused on America's chronic disease problem. As the dust settles on his White House bid, RFK Jr. is focusing on his initiative, Make America Healthy Again, with the goal to turn around what he calls a chronic disease epidemic in the U.S. Kennedy suspended his independent presidential campaign on August 23rd through his support behind Trump. Told the Epoch Times in September that endorsing his presidential campaign was a difficult decision, but it was a necessary step to achieving his mission. I prayed to God every day for the past 19 years that America's health crisis would be solved for the next generation. It's a major reason why I ran for president. Yeah, and he's calling attention to a lot of things that would not be given any time, any attention in the mainstream. So I applaud him for that. So it will remain to be seen what happens with all that. But it's an article on the Liberty Beacon, and then a couple more on there. Response to Obama's condescending remarks go viral. Prominent black Trump booster Rob Smith has responded to the former president's condescending screed over brothers who are afraid to vote for Kamala. I don't think they're afraid. I think they're just too smart to vote for her, don't you? In a now viral reply, Smith tells Obama, "There is no amount of lecturing or bullying or shaming that you can do that's going to make me change the decision to vote for Trump." "Sorry, Obama," he says, "I'm a black man. I'm voting for Trump on November 5th, and no amount of lecturing or shaming is going to change that. Deal with it."
Sorry, Obama, I'm a black man and I'm voting for Donald Trump for president, and there is no amount of lecturing or bullying or shaming that you can do that is going to make me change that decision. I am not afraid to vote for Kamala Harris because she is a woman. I refuse to vote for Kamala Harris because she has spent the last 4 years destroying this country. She has spent the last 4 years throwing up the borders to illegal immigrants. She has spent the last 4 years destroying this economy. We have seen over the past couple of months that she is not fit to be president. She can barely speak. She can't articulate a vision. And actually, she's pretty stupid. And if you think that I, as a black man, am going to let that waltz into the White House, that is going to get my vote because you're lecturing me and you're bullying me, and you may be the surrogate black dad for a lot of fatherless black boys that are running around this country, but I got a dad. I know who he is, and it ain't you. I'm voting for Donald Trump for president. Take it or leave it. Sorry, Obama.
Way to go. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Well said, well said. Says Obama should be shamed for berating, rebuking, and scolding black men because they won't vote for Madam Lock Up a Brother. Wow. As if we're too stupid to vote for our interest in what's best for ourselves and our families. Yeah, exactly. So there's even more embedded here on this particular page. This is on the Liberty Beacon. And then High Court orders continued imprisonment of Enoch Burke. I don't know if you guys know about this guy's story, but it is an interesting one. Kind of makes you wonder if you were in a similar position, similar situation, what would you do? So let me read a little bit about this here. It says this is a continuation of the story from early September when a high school teacher, Enoch Burke, was jailed for the third time after showing up for work. He had previously refused to alter his speech to accommodate a transgender student who wanted specific pronouns used. For that, he was barred from the school, which he also refused to abide by, and was sacked, meaning fired. Instead, he regularly showed up for work until the school got an injunction against him and had him arrested for refusing to obey the injunction. So he kept going on to work anyway. From our understanding of the case, Burke wants the grounds for his dismissal from the school heard and adjudicated on from a constitutional standpoint. I suppose he means the Irish Constitution. Instead, it's been dealt with by the court as simply a matter of his refusing to abide by the court injunction to stay away from the school. Burke maintains he has the legal right to still be in the school doing his job. This is Burke's most recent tweet about the situation from a couple days ago, October 11th. Breaking judge sends Burke back to prison implies children as young as 12 have a right to transition to another gender. The judge does. Of course he does. Yeah. So he's in prison for not using the proper pronouns, for refusing to. Irish teacher Burke is ordered to stay in prison following a dispute between him and the then principal of the school over using they-them pronouns for a student. The incident took place in 2022, and Burke has now spent more than 400 days in prison. So what would you do? Would you give up and just start using the preferred pronouns? I don't know. I mean, it's just a question. But I will say this, he's stood by his principles, so I applaud him for that. Wow. Most people wouldn't stay in prison for 400 days, though, for it. AI and the mind-controlled road to hell. Proponents of the transhumanist AI future are a clinically insane, anti-life demonic cult. With this at the forefront of your mind, ask yourself, do I still want to do business with them? If the answer is no, then take immediate steps to adopt a lifestyle as diametrically opposite as possible from the one that makes one dependent on both the tools and the mindset of their trade. I stress mindset because the state of mind behind the push to turn human beings into biocomputers is not sufficiently rejected by the majority of those using the cult's tech. I don't think most people understand it, do you? I don't think most people understand it either, that people across the world have already been injected with it. You know what I mean. And I'm not even saying that they're even going into that in this article, but that's how advanced things are. People already are walking around with all this biotech in them, nanotech. There's almost no concentrated thought being applied to this already advanced enslavement process. That's what I'm saying. It's even more advanced than what this person's saying in this article. Therefore, those not questioning their attachment to the EMF, electromagnetic frequency digital tech, lack the ability to resist the insidious capture of their best energies. One can only put an end to something by first recognizing its existence and one's reliance on it. This is the first phase of release from slavery and in taking control of one's destiny. So what could such a diametrically opposite lifestyle to one of toxic IT dependency be? Firstly, a re-earthing, a rational process that taps into common sense and frees one from the blind acceptance of an ever more dominant digital control system. This could, in practice, take many different forms and go into many different directions, but all would be about getting out of jail while one still can. So yeah, it's talking about electricity and EMF and 5G towers, and that's all true. That's all something to take into consideration. But no mention of the nanotech already having been injected into most people, or certainly a lot of people. Millions and millions, if not billions. But yeah, I mean, that kind of thing isn't even being discussed on this particular article, but I'm just raising that point, something else to look at. UK to face astonishing slavery reparation claims. Caribbean governments are planning to raise the issue of compensation for the slave trade at the upcoming Commonwealth Summit. And we know who's in charge of the Commonwealth, do we not? A group of Caribbean countries will demand reparations amounting to an astonishing 200 billion pounds, which is $261 billion, from King Charles III and UK Prime Minister Starmer for the transatlantic slave trade at the upcoming Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. So old Charlie here, $261 billion. Charlie could write a check to him. You think he's going to? He could cover it. Because taking everything into account, Charlie is worth trillions. Trillions with a T. Because the Commonwealth is, 50-some countries, whatever it is, across the world. So, yeah, and the British Crown is in charge of all of them, officially. The nations reportedly agreed to unanimously broach the subject of slaveholding practices at the biennial gathering will be hosted by Samoa on October 21st, so in about a week. So, pretty interesting that it's old Charles there heading things up. More reparations, paying for slavery. The people that are paying for it, though, most likely never even had slaves. So that's on RT, and then this one too. Crisis hit Boeing to fire 17,000 employees. About 10% of the plane maker's staff are expected to lose their jobs. Well, partly because they're so DEI. We know this. U.S. manufacturer Boeing has announced plans to eliminate around 10% of its workforce over the coming months. Job cuts will include executives and managers in addition to ordinary employees, according to a memo shared by the company's new president. So I wonder if the new president is also adhering to the DEI idea, you suppose? Yeah. Yeah, trillions of fiat currency equals what? Yeah, really. I know this. But, yeah. So Boeing is going to be firing about 10% of their staff. That's interesting. Wow. Biden orders for Trump to be protected like a sitting president. So this is another, I guess you could call it another little prong in the argument that one could make that Biden is doing his best, whatever that might be, for what it's worth, to sabotage old Kamala. Republican candidate has requested U.S. military aircraft transport after several attempts on his life. And I would add that there was yet a third attempt today. There was another one today. We'll get to that here in a minute. It's not even making major headlines on this show because it's happening all the time now. It's almost like a weekly thing. Oh, yeah, somebody took a pot shot at Trump or whatever it is. And this case today was not a shot that was taken, but we'll look at it here in just a minute. Republican candidates requested U.S. military aircraft transport after several attempts on his life. Biden has said that Trump's request for extra security, including military transport, should be granted in light of 2 assassination attempts, now 3, against the Republican nominee. Speaking to reporters on Friday, Biden said that Trump should be given everything needed as long as he doesn't ask for F-15s. I'm surprised that Biden can even say the word F-15, but yeah. Trump's campaign has recently been in contact with the White House and Secret Service seeking military assets for added protection, according to multiple U.S. media reports. So Biden says, look, I've instructed the department to give him every single thing he needs for his, as if he were a sitting president. Give him all that he needs. If it fits within that category, that's fine, but if it doesn't, he shouldn't. The U.S. president tried to explain. I'm adding that, but yeah. So that is kind of interesting, though, that he's agreeing to this. What would Harris say? What would Harris say? Sure, she's probably not very happy about this. Looks like they do have the Hal Turner story that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Multiple Israeli soldiers killed in drone strike on Army base. The IDF. They do have that story on RT now as well. Third Trump assassination attempt foiled, law enforcement says. A man has been arrested with fake press pass and loaded weapons outside a rally being held by Trump in California. A third attempt on the life of Trump was prevented on Saturday when law enforcement officers arrested an armed man with fake press passes outside the rally in Coachella, California. Vem Miller, a 49-year-old Las Vegas resident, was arrested at a checkpoint outside the rally venue on Saturday with an illegally owned shotgun. It's funny that this happened yesterday because I think they're having Sunday now, and this story just came out today. Yeah, October 13th is the date of this article, and no one was talking about it before earlier today. So I wonder why, if this happened yesterday, why is it just now coming out? Just a question. Says he had he owned a shotgun and a loaded handgun and a high-capacity magazine. Riverside County Sheriff's Office said in a statement on Sunday. Riverside County Sheriff told local media that Miller had presented a fake VIP and press pass at the checkpoint. They were different enough to cause the deputies alarm. We probably stopped another assassination attempt. So there you go. And get this, he was released on $5,000 bail. $5,000. I wonder if they went ahead and gave his guns back to him too, you suppose? I mean, maybe. Maybe they didn't even take him, I don't know. So, very interesting. I'm sort of surprised that Trump is still doing these rallies. I mean, I get it. He probably feels like he has the red states more or less sewn up and is branching out to try to make headway into bringing some of the blue states on board. I mean, I kind of get having the rallies, but man, with all these attempts on his life, somebody's going to get lucky, quote unquote, sometime if he's not careful. Do you think that's tempting God in some way? Because I do think that God protected him the first couple times, perhaps this time as well. Do you feel like it's challenging God to some degree, or is it something you feel like he should just keep it up because God's going to keep protecting him? Just a question. I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that. I'm just wondering what you guys think about it. Let me know. Anyway, that article is on RT, and then top headlines on the People's Voice, peoplesvoice.tv. Armed suspect planning Trump assassination released on bail. How is this even possible? Which is what I just said, more or less. The armed man arrested outside the Coachella Valley rally who declared his intention to assassinate the former President Trump has already been released on bail. Maybe that's why they decided not to report this until today. They wanted to make sure they got him back out. So who is this person? Did he work for the CIA as well? Do we know? Thought this one was kind of an interesting headline. Pope Francis declares Jesus is a liar and Lucifer is the Son of God. I don't know. I'm not sure I buy that he would have said that for real, although, yes, he does act like it. Pope Francis has said practicing pedophiles will go to heaven. Oh, that's why. Prophesying atheists will go to heaven, and Christianity must merge with Islam to become a one-world religion. That's according to this person that wrote this article. So, I don't know. So, but yeah, I am no fan of the Pope, but that's pretty strong words there. Some top Democrats say they won't certify election if Trump wins. Some top Democrats have said they will refuse to certify. According to a report by Axios, spoke to a number of Democrats, including Raskin, who we've played the clip on there before on this show. We played the clip before that's literally him saying that. Pelosi said the same thing. Yeah, Francis is Luciferian. Yes, I totally agree. And then Pope considers reversing church ban on sex change surgery after LGBTQ meeting. He has urged the overturn of the Catholic Church's ban on gender-affirming care for transgender people during the talks with LGBTQ activists at the Vatican. So, yep, he probably had a big party afterwards, after their meeting. UK government to introduce electricity rationing as part of the WEF's net zero agenda. So electricity rationing, there's not enough to go around. UK government's announced plans to introduce electricity rationing for all citizens as part of the WEF's radical net zero agenda for humanity. Yeah, way back when in my California days when I lived out there, they had what they called rolling blackouts. I suppose it'll be very similar to the California rolling blackouts. They just basically shut your power off for a while until they decide to switch it back on. So maybe that's going to work in a similar way. The net zero agenda of the WEF. Unelected bureaucrats get to decide whether you get electricity or not. CNN scolds the, quote, dangerous conspiracy theorists. The government cannot control the weather. And don't you forget it. CNN ran a segment this week scolding viewers for believing dangerous conspiracy theories about weather manipulation by the government. It's dangerous to them because they don't want you to know the truth. That it's all happening. Former Russian president cast doubt on Trump's pledge to end the Ukraine conflict. And then once-in-a-lifetime comet seen zooming across the South Carolina sky. So that is the top headlines on People's Voice. And then, let's see, Information Liberation headlines. First, live stream genocide. Al Jazeera documentary exposes Israeli war crimes in Gaza. And they are very happy about it here, as you can see. A new viral documentary from Al Jazeera titled Investigating War Crimes in Gaza exposes Israeli war crimes in the strip drawing heavily off of footage released by Israeli soldiers themselves. Yeah, they just film it all themselves. Some of us have seen some of the footage. So they're okay with it, though, because they think that they are the good guys. They think they're God's chosen people, you know. Biden's Lebanon envoy, ex-Israeli soldier Amos Hochstein, gave Israel the green light to invade Lebanon. So, Biden's Lebanon envoy. Bill Kristol says, my fellow white Americans are, quote, the enemy. Well, we already know that Bill Kristol is the enemy. He's about as rhino as you can get. Journalist Jeremy Lofredo, released after 4 days in Israeli detention, ordered not to leave. So that's the journalist that I mentioned earlier. Israel detained American journalists for reporting on damage from Iran's strikes. How dare he report the truth? So, anyway, yeah. Headlines on information liberation is where that was. And then WNG.org from the SIFT. 2 dead, dozens injured after Texas oil refinery chemical leak. You heard about this one? Yet again. It says the Mexican state-owned Pemex oil refinery in southeast Texas was the scene of a fatal hydrogen sulfide leak on Thursday afternoon. The leak killed 2 workers and injured 35 more, 13 of whom were hospitalized. So, man. More stuff blowing up. They love stuff blowing up. Texas teachers accused of giving sleep aids to pre-K students. Sleep aids. And they did not have the parents okay. That's the little secret there. Elementary school administrators in Houston placed 2 teachers on leave after reports that preschool students were receiving melatonin-infused stickers at nap time without parental permission. Imagine if they were doing this to your kid. The staff members allegedly involved were immediately placed on leave. Well, that's good. And both police and administrators launched investigations. According to Spring Independent School District, says reports of a teacher giving students any form of medication is deeply troubling and unacceptable. Which it is melatonin, but still, I mean, it's making them sleepy. And I saw some interviews with some little kids where they showed the stickers. They're not shown in this particular article, but they showed the sticker to the little kid, and the kid says, "Yeah, those are our sleepy time stickers." And they stick them on their arm or whatever, and they're infused with melatonin, and it makes them sleep, makes them go to sleep. So then the teachers don't have to bother teaching them. See. So that's where we are. The teachers are putting our kids to sleep, literally. So strange. Wow. And then Daily Mail. I thought this was one of the better articles I could find on just kind of in one place all of the Hurricane Milton pictures. And so if you haven't really seen too much about it, if you don't live in that area, this article on Daily Mail has got some good pictures. Milton update. Florida told it's not over after overnight carnage that killed multiple and left millions without power. Aerial photos show devastation caused by Milton. Worst to come. Now this is dated October 9th, so that's back when, right after it happened, but you can see all the flooding and then boats in the middle of the streets and stuff. And then I think alligators as well in one of these articles. Might have been this one. So you can see, and then tornadoes caused a lot of damage too, which is really crazy. Tornadoes brought by Milton. A lot of tornadoes, which part of the geoengineering, if you ask me. Milton victims face deadly new risk that sits on every street after EV owners were warned to move their cars to higher ground. Yeah, because if they catch fire, there's no way to put them out. Which gas stations still have fuel? Gigantic 28-foot wave spotted near the Eye of Milton before the hurricane sucked the water out of Tampa Bay. So it's also creating tsunamis. How about that? Hundreds of people stranded on an island because of the bridge being blocked. Oh, a fallen house blocked a bridge. Tampa mayor warns residents of sudden flooding risk as the tide comes in. Yeah, no kidding. Alligators spotted stalking cars and homes overrun with floodwaters. There's an alligator. So, no thanks. And then this is the baseball stadium in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Rays Stadium's been smashed by Hurricane Milton. The whole dome, I guess, the dome was smashed. So you can see it there. So they won't be having any baseball games for a while. Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot there on this particular article. We'll link to this in the other, all the other articles I talk about tonight in the Substack. So make sure you're on that list if you're not already. And yeah, freakish amount of tornadoes. Did anyone else notice that? Yeah, I did. I did notice that. A lot of people talking about tornadoes all around. Hundreds of them, I guess. Lots of tornado warnings. Very bizarre. But not all that inconsistent with geoengineered weather like this. It says, wow, the companies doing the North Carolina Hurricane Helene victims' home inspections listed on the FEMA website are owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. So the same company that owns majority of the lithium mine in the area will be inspecting the victims' properties they want. What are the odds? It says if you go to the FEMA contract page, you will notice if you search for home inspections that two companies appear. One is Vanguard and the other is WSP, who is a Canadian company that's mainly owned by the Canadian Pension Board. Now, the other piece of the puzzle of who owns WSP is two companies that we know. One of them being Vanguard, and the other one is BlackRock. They represent almost 3% ownership of WSP, right? A little bit over 3 million shares of the company. BlackRock and Vanguard are doing the home inspections for FEMA in Carolina and in Florida. The same people who own the majority of Albemarle, the lithium mining company in Kings Mountain. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Anyways, yeah. Thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't really seen anyone else talking about that, but that is on the Threadreader app. Threadreaderapp.com is where that one is. You'll soon be able to book a room at the world's first 3D printed hotel. This is on Singularity Hub. I thought this was really an interesting idea. Look how they're printing it. Look at this ginormous printer. Literally on like little rails, like a railroad track rail. Printing a building. Okay. The first 3D printed house in the U.S. was unveiled just over 6 years ago. Since then, homes have been printed all over the country. From Virginia to California and Mexico to Kenya. If you're intrigued by the concept but not sure whether you're ready to jump on the bandwagon, you'll soon be able to take a 3D printed dwelling for a test run by staying in the world's first 3D printed hotel. The hotel is under construction in the city of Marfa in the far west of Texas. So I'm sure before long it will be inhabited by illegals. That's my guess. But yeah, there's the ginormous printer. Printing the hotel. And, I've heard it talked about that the third temple, when the third temple is built on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, that it might also be 3D printed. I don't know. I'm not sure if that'll be the case, but it's very possible. So they're literally 3D printing buildings. There's the inside of one right here. Doesn't look so bad. But that seems really strange. So you can have them 3D print your hotel, 3D print your house, or 3D print your steak. Take your choice. And then this is another interesting one that I found, and some of you guys might have heard about this already, but this is the first article that I really seen about it recently. I've heard people talking about it. Republicbroadcasting.org is where it is. Simulation confirmed. Hurricane Helene is an exact duplicate of the 1958 Hurricane Helene. This is pretty crazy. Some are calling it a glitch in the Matrix. Others are saying that it's proof that we truly live in a simulation. All I know is it's really strange and seems to defy most odds. It all started when I saw this post on Twitter. So this post is from September 30th. So right kind of as the whole Helene thing was unfolding. It says, can you explain this? 66 years ago, same hurricane, same date, same category, meaning 4, and same region. Hurricane Helene. And then this is a Wikipedia screenshot, I guess. Hurricane Helene, 1958. So I'll just read through this little paragraph. I don't think you guys can see it because the font's pretty small in the screenshot. But it says, Hurricane Helene was the most intense tropical cyclone of the 1958 Atlantic hurricane season. 1958. The 8th tropical storm and 4th hurricane of the year, Helene was formed from a tropical wave east of the Lesser Antilles on September 21st, 1958. Moving steadily westward, the storm slowly intensified, attaining hurricane strength on September 24th. And that's circled. As conditions became increasingly favorable for tropical cyclone development, Helene began to rapidly intensify, nearing the United States East Coast. The hurricane quickly attained Category 4 intensity on September 26th. That date is also circled. Before it subsequently reached its peak intensity with maximum sustained winds of 150 miles per hour and a minimum barometric pressure of 930 millibars. So, it says, this article goes on, it says, as I often say around here, we don't write news articles based solely on Twitter posts. We research and do our homework. When we saw this, it's exactly what I did. I looked it up, and to my astonishment, the tweet is 100% accurate. Here is the Wikipedia page confirming the 2024 Helene is a near duplicate copy of the 1958 Hurricane Helene. 66 years ago, same hurricane, same date, same name, same category, Category 4, and same region. What are the odds? That is very strange. The only thing that they don't point out is that in 1958, the geoengineering program was already in full swing. Now, they did not have as much technology and control over being able to create them and blow them apart and all that kind of stuff, but they could certainly steer them back then. So, anyway, thought that was a little strange, and that it happened to be a replay of the 1958 version in 2024. And it's 66 years ago. Coincidence? Perhaps not. But anyway, that's on republicbroadcasting.org is where that is. A couple Leo Hohmann articles I wanted to bring to your attention. DoD Directive 5240.01, DoD Intelligence and Intelligence-Related Activities, and Defense Intelligence Component Assistance to Law Enforcement Agencies and other civil authorities. Pentagon issues federal directive allowing military to use, quote, lethal force against Americans as video resurfaces showing Kamala fantasizing about weaponizing the DOJ against U.S. citizens. A video clip has resurfaced from May of 2019 when Harris fantasizes about weaponizing the DOJ against speech the government doesn't like and the platforms that allow it. In the meantime, 1 month before a tense presidential election, U.S. Department of Defense has authorized U.S. military defense intelligence components to use, quote, lethal force against American citizens if requested by state or local law enforcement in an emergency situation. More on this in a minute, but first let's get to the May 2019 video showing Harris unleashing her inner dictator. Speaking at the annual NAACP Fight for Freedom Fund dinner in Detroit, Harris threatened, "We will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice." I played you the clip earlier tonight. "We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism." She went on to say she would hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms. Hate meaning all those things that they disagree with, like the truth. Because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy, which their democracy means the Democrats control everything. That's the democracy she's talking about. "If you don't police your platforms, we're going to hold you accountable." And then here's the clip, which I already played for you tonight. What she's saying is chilling. She's saying that she or some entity in her administration will decide what's appropriate speech and what is not. These are the musings of a dangerous authoritarian. This is the real Kamala Harris. You won't find her talking smack like this on the campaign trail, where all we get is the warm and fuzzy Kamala who wants to help the middle class. Yes, it's all about the joy now, isn't it? The joy. I think the joy is gone. If you've seen her recently, I don't know. Holding platforms accountable for every opinion or rant placed on their platform means arrests will be made. It's already happening in other formerly free countries. In the UK, thousands of British citizens were arrested, tried, and convicted within a 72-hour period for posting photos and videos on social media that challenged the government narrative about a recent rioting occurring in the country, which we mentioned that on this show. In France, the government arrested the owner of Telegram, a popular social media platform, because he refused to cooperate with the government authorities seeking backdoor censorship avenues into his system. But he's now completely capitulated. So that is all kind of gone by the wayside. This is the wave of the future. It is global in scope, and top U.S. Democrats like Hillary and Antony Blinken and John Kerry have all recently come out saying that the First Amendment is a hindrance to establishing their globalist agenda centered on climate change hysteria, fake elections, and toxic for all. If you tell the truth about these issues, they call it disinformation and say you should be banned and jailed and eventually killed. I'm just adding that, but that's true. Federal Directive 5240.01 is a treasonous abuse of power. The U.S. Department of Defense issued a federal directive on September 27th that allows U.S. military troops to be used to assist state and local law enforcement upon request with actions up to and including lethal force, meaning they can kill you. This is Directive 5240.01. Read it for yourself. There's a link to it. This link takes you directly to a military document. It's there. The timing of the directive is interesting. 1 month before an election that's widely expected to generate chaos and civil unrest. Nice, huh? Anyway, goes on to talk about the sky of the book, several other things as well. So, Leo Hohmann article. There's a lot here on this particular article, so definitely have a look at that. And then on his Substack, weaponization of weather when climate control is mass marketed as climate change. The corporate mainstream media told us ahead of time 9 years ago that what the government and its mad scientists have planned for us, and yes, it involves hurricanes. Yep, of course it does. So, yeah, one thing I wanted to mention, I didn't pull up the video, but I still can. Right here, I'll show you the video. I put it on my YouTube channel. Right over here in this area of Mexico, on this little peninsula that sticks up here, the Yucatan Peninsula, near Cancun, you can see a radar tower here, and I'll play the video here in a minute when we get to my YouTube tab. That it is, you can see the beam coming out of the radar tower energizing Hurricane Milton before it ever gets there. So perhaps they were using it to steer it. Perhaps they were using it to increase its intensity. I don't know. But yeah, it was definitely very obvious when I saw that. And all credit to Mr. Dane. He told me to look up the Cancun weather station, the radar station, and I did, and that's what I found. So anyway, I'll explain a little bit more on that when we get there. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And the Leo Hohmann Substack here is talking about weaponized weather in the form of hurricanes. So interesting that it's being talked about so much. And then USA Watchdog, Greg Hunter had Mr. Dane on his show, World at War with Criminals Controlling the Weather. So yeah, another interview here you can check out if you haven't already. And Greg's doing good work. And then he was also on with Alex, Geoengineering Watch Director Dane, exposes the federal government's secret weather weapons system now targeting all life. So that is on band.video is where that one is. Again, we'll link to these in the Substack post. diamonddisk.substack.com, which is in the black box up there in the right corner. Yeah, Redacted reported the story this weekend. Yep, William, you're right. Yep. And when I spoke to Dane a few days ago, he told me that he was doing Redacted. He's also supposed to be doing a second interview with RFK Jr. However, the Kennedy family recently had a death in their family, and that kind of like pulled him out of the loop a little while. So, anyways, yeah, the phone has been ringing off the hook. Let's just say it that way for Mr. Dane. He's been doing tons and tons of interviews. So I think that's good. That's good. It's getting the info out there. And then he's done another, I don't know if it's on here. He's done another interview with Mike Adams as well, right here. Dane Wigington and Mike discuss urgent weather weaponization technologies and agendas targeting humanity. That's a Brighteon link is where that is on naturalnews.com. But I'll try and remember and link to that separately on the Substack post as well. Some of these other headlines on naturalnews.com. Biden-Harris regime has better things to do than help victims of Helene, the deadliest hurricane since Katrina. Helene swept through hundreds of toxic industrial sites. Are all those chemicals now in the drinking water? Yeah, when I spoke to Dane, I think it was yesterday, he told me that he spoke with someone very recently, I think yesterday, in North Carolina, and that person was reporting that many people are getting sick. And we don't know if it's from runoff or from something that's in the water or what. I mean, obviously you'd have to be filtering your water, but who knows? I mean, there's so much toxicity now floating around out there in that area because everything's sort of, been melded together with all the water and wind and everything else. So, yeah. Bill Gates' days are numbered, say the Japanese scientists, after abortion drugs found in vaccines. Not a shocker there. Maybe somebody should try and trick Bill Gates into going to Japan. Maybe they'll arrest him. Bombshell. Welcome to the swing state storms of 2024, brought to you by HARP and the DoD. The swing state storms. Tongue twister. That is what it is. That's what I've been saying since day one. I could see that whenever they were steering Helene toward the most red areas of Florida, that was what was going to happen. Of course, I had no idea what was going to happen when it got to Carolina, but it was obvious when it was approaching Florida. They were going to steer it toward the red areas, and that's exactly what happened. I think Milton, for the most part, was as well. And then Wyoming's elk fire consumed 75,000 acres as fire crews rushed to protect homes and wildlife. So we've got hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes on one side of the country, and then wildfires consuming other huge chunks of the West, all happening all at one time. Trump campaign says 530,000 plus voters in Helene-ravaged North Carolina might not be able to participate in the election. 26 of 28 hardest hit counties voted Trump in 2020, which is exactly what I said. That's why you steer the storm there. You take them out so they can't vote. You think North Carolina will turn blue instead of red? If it does, you'll know why. Harris openly bragged about using the DOJ to fight against free speech the government doesn't agree with, something that I've mentioned multiple times tonight, and I played the clip. Recall issued for 9.9 million pounds of meat and poultry due to listeria. Democrat officials accused of deliberately slowing response to Helene damage in North Carolina. Yep. We've seen the footage. We've seen the helicopters flying over the staging areas, blowing stuff apart to prevent the goods and supplies from getting to where they're supposed to go. Millions of Floridians in Hurricane Milton's path are still without power as officials assess widespread destruction. Acting Hezbollah leader warns that more Israelis will be displaced if the IDF pursues its invasion of Lebanon, which I know they definitely want to do, so we'll see what happens. Musk campaigning for Trump in crucial swing state of Pennsylvania. And more headlines. There's quite a few here. So that's on Natural News, naturalnews.com. Good site. And then Wine Press News. Usually just look at the headlines here. CEO who manages stablecoin USDC says the global economy will become instant, global, frictionless, and free in less than a decade. Yeah, how about less than a year or two, if you ask me? I don't think it'll take long at all. That's what the whole Great Reset is about. And look for that to happen probably right after World War III. World War III, then the Great Reset comes. Seems pretty obvious, and I know a lot of people agree with that scenario. Let's see here, some of the other headlines. MIT creates AI chatbot Future You that allows users to chat with their future selves. Oh, I don't think so. No thanks. Russia expedites digital ruble by 2025. That would be very soon. Forces large banks to use it. Sick. Unmarked U.S. helicopter destroys Hurricane Helene donation center. That happened more than once. There's more than one video clip I've seen of it. Different instances. India to pilot facial recognition to board flights in 2025. Everything's going digital as quick as they can possibly make it. And believe me, as soon as this, whatever happens, probably a nuclear exchange, because they needed to be super scary. Whatever it is, it's going to completely transform our world. After that happens, the world will never be the same. And I'm guessing it's going to be sometime in the next few months, because 2025, in my opinion, is the beginning of the final 3.5 years. And I think the powers that be, the ones at the lower levels don't know this necessarily, but the ones at the upper levels who consider Lucifer their god certainly do know that. They know time is very well dwindling away, that they are not going to have as much time to do all the things they want to do. So that's why they're speeding things up so quickly now. As far as the next stage and the next stage and the next stage in what their process, what they're trying to work through so that they can bring us ultimate tyranny and put us under a one-world government. EU court rejects French petition to ban meaty terms for plant-based alternatives. Meaty terms. Yep, meat is a no-no. Propaganda. Business Insider warns U.S. Navy is depleting missiles in the Middle East that should be used in an inevitable war with China. I don't think any war is inevitable unless you have the military-industrial complex in charge of it all, which of course they are. And then anyway, there's more here about Ukraine. New NATO chief pledges more war in Ukraine. So therefore he gets hired. All right, and then some top headlines on Gateway Pundit. Man arrested outside Trump Coachella event spotted at RNC convention next to Don Jr. Here he is here. Wow. Let's see. What other headlines we have here? I thought this was kind of odd. God is good. Country rock star Brantley Gilbert stops his concert to help his wife deliver their baby in the tour bus and then goes back and finishes the show. Wow, I mean, that is really impressive on several levels. Not just his level, but that she let him do that too. So she's in labor in the tour bus behind the stage or something. He runs off stage, helps deliver the baby, and then goes back onto the stage and finishes the show. Man, that is crazy. I'm in the music business, and I never heard of anything like that before. That's pretty wild. Crazy tech world. Hacked robot vacuum goes around the house shouting expletives and racial slurs. I don't know if that's maybe brings new meaning to the term Roomba. Pro-Hezbollah rally in Dearborn features anti-American, anti-Israel rhetoric. Gateway Pundit, I do like a lot of their articles. They do a really good job on reporting things, but they are super pro-Israel. Kentucky woman who was casting spells was arrested after cooked body parts discovered in her home. Speaking of weird witches, Gwen Walls delivers patronizing assignment, quote unquote, in her latest weird video. I mean, how could you not be that weird, though, and be married to Tim Walz? Tampon Tim. Anyways, yeah. So another accent. Joy cometh in the morning. Kamala Harris panders to the black church from the pulpit in the cringiest video yet. I won't subject you to it, but it is there if you want to see it. Trump has confirmed he's going on Joe Rogan's podcast. That's a good plan, I think. And then it says, watch, these are animals. President Trump says he will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 and calls for the death penalty for illegals who kill American citizens. We will call it Operation Aurora. How about that? Pretty strong leadership there. You won't see that from very many people, I don't think. Yeah, sick. Joe Biden lies about his house burning down to hurricane victims. He's pulling out the old lightning hit my house story again. That's what he did in Maui as well. They went there. Saturday Night Live runs a skit with Creepy Joe sniffing Kamala, something the fake news has given old Joe a pass on for years. Yeah, Saturday Night Live is actually making fun of him, so they must have figured out that they're not going to get in too much trouble with the Democrat Party if they do. Yeah, Joe Rogan and Trump, a must-watch, ? Well, I'm just saying that I feel like he's doing all these podcasts. Joe Rogan's is really probably still the top one out there, so why not be on that one? He can reach more people going on Joe Rogan's show than he ever could going on CNN or any of the mainstream media. And then here's the Gateway Pundit article about the third attempt. Breaking, armed man arrested outside Trump Coachella rally with fake VIP and press passes, likely a third assassination attempt. So, more info here. It's sort of becoming, we're becoming numb to the whole, yet again, another assassination attempt. But again, I pose the question, is it something that Trump should continue pressing his luck over? I guess he's going to, no matter what, so it probably doesn't matter. But, I mean, wow, I don't know. Is it tempting God to continue doing this and asking for protection? Maybe not. Maybe it's not. I don't know, just an idea. And then, let's see, activist post headlines and articles. We the People, it says, Declaration of Our Awakening is one of the articles. This is where we are at. The clueless, willfully ignorant masses remain conditioned, distracted, more polarized than ever. Declaration of Our Awakening is one of these articles. And then, Is There Hope for the U.S. is another one. What's actually going on in North Carolina, part 2. So this is going to have to be 3 parts. Now it's the third aspect to this that needs a whole separate video to discuss. What's actually going on in North Carolina, part 2. It's part 2 on the fallout of Helene, what's happening right now in eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina. The red tape and regulations, blocking of resources and rescues, the misappropriation of funds going on there is really just too egregious to believe. But now we have the agency that's supposed to deal with emergencies mission creeping into areas that have nothing at all to do with its existence. When did we all get so used to accepting this? When is enough finally enough? So, yeah, there's some links. That's TruthStream Media's video there. I saw part 1. I haven't seen part 2 yet, but apparently there's going to be at least 3 parts. So something to watch for there. That will be linked to from Activist Post, but you can find TruthStream Media on YouTube, obviously. And I've had several people send me part 1 over the last few days. CIA, Drugs Are Us, a film review. So this is by Janet Phelan. Janet was a guest on Lost Arts Radio, at least once. But yeah, she wrote this article, What Do Wild Sex and Drug Parties in Laurel Canyon, John Lennon's assassination, and the SDS Splinter Group, and the Weathermen all have in common? Wow. Connecting some dots there. David Icke exposes the mainstream alternative media, the Zionist lobby, and Jesse Ventura. Weird. I didn't even know he was still around. Haiti faces widespread famine, but there is hope for the future. Yeah, they just bring him into Springfield. So quite a few articles on Activist Posts, good site. Lots of interesting content there. And then Global Research, I found this article, globalresearch.ca, the effects of pulsed microwaves and extra low frequency electromagnetic waves on human brains. Governments routinely classify information pertaining to the manipulation of the human nervous system. So, fairly lengthy article here on this site. So I'll just read a little bit here. Where to start? On March 2nd, 2023, the American television CNN published an article on the report of the 7 U.S. intelligence agencies. It said that there is no credible evidence that a foreign adversary has a weapon or collection device that is capable of causing the mysterious incidents, meaning Havana syndrome. In this way, the U.S. intelligence agencies tried to deny the validity of the scientific report by the U.S. Academy of Science and to hide from the world, the general public, the fact that pulsed microwaves can be used to attack their minds. There is a large body of scientific experiments proving that extra low frequencies in electromagnetic radiation can produce effects in the human nervous system. Yeah. So, yeah. Very, very true. And our bodies are made of water, so of course it is subject to electromagnetic energies. Susan says she's still praying for Richard from Lost Arts. Thank you. Yeah, I know he appreciates that. He's doing okay. He's still, you can't really see him, but you can hear him once a week on our broadcast that we do on Mondays, which is the doctors. I call it the doctors show. It's dialogues with Dr. Sachs and Dr. Cousins. So that is still something that we're doing, but that's about the only weekly show that we're doing anymore, just because his health is not good. But I know he definitely appreciates the prayers, so thank you guys that are doing that. LostArtsRadio.com if you want to look him up. While NASA is figuring out how to dismantle white supremacy or whatever, check out what Elon Musk just did. So have you guys seen this? There's probably a lot of people out there saying that this is either AI or they just ran the videotape backwards. But I can assure you it's not, and they didn't.
We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in the air.
Booster, any current shutdown?
Micadilla has popped the booster.
Super heavy booster back at the launch tower.
What an incredible view!
Are you kidding me?
There you have it. There you have it. I know, space is fake. It doesn't exist. None of it's real. Whatever. No, that was real. Mechazilla. I just like saying Mechazilla. Pretty funny. But yeah, that's the super heavy booster. I've never seen a rocket being caught before. Have you? I guess that means it's something that can be reused, perhaps? I don't know. Yeah, NASA's logo is a serpent's tongue. I think you're right about that, yeah. Anyway, so I guess kudos to Mr. Musk for getting that thing working in his spare time when he's not out campaigning for Donald Trump. But very strange. That's I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. They didn't even try that in Star Trek. But that's some embedded videos there on nottobe.com. That's where that one is. And then please enjoy the replies to this video of manly man Tim Walz trying to load a shotgun. He's the ultimate Elmer Fudd. Governor Walz struggles to load his gun while going pheasant hunting in Minnesota to impress male voters. Walz is trying to impress young men by doing manly things as Harris struggles with male voters. Yeah, I'll mute it and play it, but you can get the idea here. He's not really, I guess, understanding exactly how to load the gun or something. I don't know. But yeah, he does kind of resemble Elmer Fudd. He does. He's going out looking for the wascally wabbits. There he is right there. Elmer Fudd. They even wear the same type of clothes. I mean, it's like, it's uncanny. The hat's very similar. Got the brown in the front and the orange in the back. Just like Elmer. My guess is, though, Elmer's probably a better hunter. Same energy as that lady. Gives tampons to boys, can't load a shotgun. Men, are you impressed? Too funny. All right, and then InfoWars articles breaking. Coachella suspect who allegedly vowed to kill the president has been released on $5,000 bail. He's ready to try again. And apparently they're going to let him. I don't know. I mean, if he's already out on bail. And no questions asked, I guess. Watch, DHS Secretary Mayorkas says hurricane misinformation is, quote, extremely pernicious. No, his criminality is extremely pernicious, if you ask me. Mayorkas called for people who have the platform to debunk this information, and we're not seeing enough of that, i.e. the trolls. He's calling on the troll army to go after the truth tellers. So maybe watch for a ramp up in troll commentary when it comes to people posting things about the hurricane. Yeah, I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me. He's calling on the troll army. Do you hear yourself? Vance humiliates ABC's Raditz for claiming migrant gangs captured only, quote, a handful of apartment complexes, because I guess a handful is just totally fine. Pretty funny. Martha Raditz's attempt to downplay Venezuelan gang takeover in Democrat communities fails spectacularly. ABC's This Week anchor Martha Raditz, what a name, was left humiliated after Trump running mate J.D. Vance called her out for downplaying rising crime at the hands of Venezuelan gangs allowed into the U.S. by the Biden-Harris administration. She says the incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, a handful of problems. Vance, who's joining remotely, replied, only? Do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Well played, Mr. Vance. Yeah. I've had my doubts about J.D. Vance, as you guys know, just because the whole Pence thing has really stuck with me over the years. And I think he was put in place to betray, if you will, betray Trump, and I wasn't so sure that Vance or that J.D. Vance might do the same thing. The verdict is still out. I think overall he's done far better though than Pence ever did. So I will give him a little bit of a better report than I did initially. So I think that I've seen him more and more, and I think he's doing a pretty good job. But I mean, let's just say that Trump has a habit of putting people around him who aren't trying to do him any favors, if you know what I mean. So it still makes me wonder if something, when it gets right down to it, if something doesn't happen. But hopefully it won't. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. But anyway, yeah. He definitely did a good job on that particular interview on, what's it called? This Week. Who probably has an audience of like 25 people or something. Modernity.news. Kamala Harris is accused of using a teleprompter during supposedly impromptu town hall. Busted. Says Harris is facing more accusations of phony behavior after she was apparently caught using a teleprompter at a supposedly impromptu town hall event held in Las Vegas, featured a crowd of undecided Latino voters, and was hosted and broadcast by the Spanish language network Univision. The very nature of town hall is that candidates are supposed to perform in an impromptu environment and answer questions from voters without being fed lines, but apparently this was a bridge too far for Harris. So the clip here says the viewers watching the live broadcast saw a camera shot of a teleprompter placed in front of Harris, which was quickly switched off when it came into view. Kamala has a teleprompter for this, quote, unscripted town hall. They forgot to hide it by turning it off until it comes into plain view. And then, of course, that is all fact-checked. And the fact check is saying, no, that's not at all what's happening. But you can see the teleprompter right here. And as the camera pans around her, they switch it off. So why would they switch it off if it was something we weren't supposed to notice? So, yeah. Emily says, I'm seeing her mug on a whole bunch of billboards here in Vegas lately. Yeah, I'm sure. They've got the multi-billions in order to fund the campaign, so it wouldn't surprise me one bit. Articles on vaccineimpact.com. We not robot. Elon Musk tries to continue deceiving America and the rest of the world that robots will replace humans. How many people does it take to operate a driverless car? Well, only a fleet of people. Says Musk hosted a Tesla show in Hollywood this week called We Robot. Attended by invitation-only spectators. Says, I am not the one calling it a show. Musk himself told the audience. Hope you enjoy the show. So anyway, yeah, talking about driverless cars, self-driving cars. I always called them self-crashing cars because that's what they're really good at. Self-crashing cars. 2 Harvard students hacked smart glasses to use facial recognition and identify people almost instantaneously. How about that? 2 Harvard students have made headlines after converting Meta's smart glasses into a device that automatically captures people's faces with facial recognition and then runs them through face search engines so that they can identify them and look up their personal information, including addresses, almost instantaneously. How about that? And this is just 2 students. Imagine what the government's doing. There are 2 lessons to learn here. First, be aware of people in the public wearing eyeglasses and not unlike these, right? As they may be recording you. I can guarantee you I'm not recording you. Secondly, don't put photos of yourself or your children online or on social media sites or anywhere else online. Also, start using old-fashioned cameras that are just cameras and are not connected to the internet. Stop taking pictures of yourself and your family with cell phones. Cover up the camera lens on your cell phones when you're not using it. Yeah, and on your laptop and your iPad and everything else. Yeah, that's pretty wild, huh? So, facial recognition. So you look through the glasses, you see somebody, and it gives you a data output there of where the person lives, probably their phone number, their social security number, maybe, who knows what. That is not good, but that is technology that is already existing, and people are hacking it. So that's wild. The one who controls the storms, who controls the weather. So we've had lots of stories and lots of reporting on weaponized weather, geoengineering, and weather modification and climate engineering. So that's good. I'm glad it's coming out. So there's an article on Vaccine Impact about that. Zionist billionaire Elon Musk's desperate attempt to purchase a Trump presidency and remain in power. Yeah, I don't know that, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but this website is pretty anti-Musk, which overall I think, I understand, but overall I think he's done some decent things for humanity lately. as far as freeing up Twitter X and so forth. But there's still a lot of questionable stuff. I mean, I'll give you that. The whole thing with the brain-computer interface thing that he's come up with, and the self-crashing cars and the, well, EVs in general, and it's a lot of bad stuff. So don't get me wrong. All right, so those are the main articles, top headlines on vaccine impact. The others on the page are ones we mentioned last week. Geoengineeringwatch.org for this week. Well, it was more about weather wars. If states decided unilaterally to use more radical geoengineering technologies, it could trigger dramatic climatic disruptions. From the World Economic Forum. For the record, there is no if in this equation. The damage already done includes further fueling extremely rapid worldwide environmental collapse. Earth's wildlife populations have disappeared at a catastrophic rate in the past half century, new analysis says. That's from Washington Post. Scientists, we are on the brink of irreversible disaster. That's an MSN headline. The populations are now rapidly awakening to the geoengineering issue. The controllers are more desperate and dangerous than ever before. Denial won't save us. Apathy won't save us. Inaction won't save us. We must focus our collective efforts to sound the alarm. We must change course. Time is rapidly running out. So, yeah, that is wise words from Mr. Dane. So that is geoengineeringwatch.org, the latest issue, the latest show of Global Alert News. It's available on YouTube, and it's embedded in the page here on geoengineeringwatch.org, but you can also find him on Rumble and BitChute and also Spotify. So make sure you're on that list. If you click the email sign-up list, I just added a little QR code here. So if you're not already on the list and you want to whip out the old camera on your phone that you should have a piece of tape over, right? There it is. There's the little block, the little QR block, and if you scan it, you'll get the pop-up there where you can drop your email address in. And yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers kind of behind the scenes, I can tell you that, man, he's really seen a large ramp up in his following over the last month, really, but especially the last couple weeks. Lots of people signing up to be on the newsletter, lots of people signing up to subscribe, I should say, over on his YouTube channel. So I think that's good news. So geoengineeringwatch.org for more information there. The scheduled weather for this week, well, for the next few days, starting October 19th through the 23rd, so starting in a few days, guess what? More heat. More heat. So it's going to be above normal pretty much everywhere, except part of the west, a little bit of the west. And then precipitation kind of, I guess they're going to give the west a little bit of precipitation, looks like. So the scheduled weather coming up, October 19th through 23rd, according to NOAA. And the weather modeling for NOAA comes from the top defense contractors. Weather whiplash, as Dane says. Yep, exactly right. So there it is, kind of the back and forth. Although we don't see the half and half, which we often do see, half cool, half hot. This one is mostly all warm here, warm temps. It's pretty warm for October, if you ask me. It is here. I know where I'm at as well. So anyway, that is on the NOAA site there, scheduled weather. And then I wanted to show you guys this. Let me just play this for you because I can play it and talk over it here. You can see what I did here was on this video. This is on my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out if you want. It's a little hard to see. Let me see if I can start it over. Let me see if I can go a little bit. I guess it's about as good a quality as I can make it on this live stream. But what I want to show you here was, this is something that I mentioned earlier tonight when I was talking about this little peninsula here, this Yucatan Peninsula, part of Mexico. This is when Milton was still back this far before it followed this trajectory. See how it was steered directly into Florida. I mean, why would it follow that path? But they knew where it was going because it's the scheduled weather. But anyway, Mr. Dane called me up and asked me to check and see if the radar installation in Cancun was indeed projecting or beaming anything, and it certainly was. And you can see it here. It's a little hard to see, I will give you that, but it's right here. See this green? There's a green diagonal line going straight out of Cancun. And what I did was I screen captured that, so you can see the energy being pushed out here by this radar installation on the tip of the Cancun area there. So you can see it right here, and then I superimposed, which is kind of why it looks the way it looks. I superimposed an animation here from Vinci Sky of the Milton hurricane. It was just sort of ramping up. So I put those two pieces together in this video. It's a little hard to see because it was kind of hard to mix it in a way where I could show both things really well. But right here, if you look closely, there's the green beam. You can tell that it's, as Milton kind of gets closer to it, it's going right through that little green energy area there, coming off of that radar installation. So pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys saw that. It is on my YouTube channel. It's there. I'm not sure if anybody else was reporting on that, but something that I noticed. Hurricane Milton being energized by Cancun radar blast. So I had a few people share that, so that was good. Anyway, that's there on the YouTube channel if you didn't see it already, but feel free to follow along and subscribe if you don't mind. It certainly helps me on Take It to the Lord in Prayer End Times Dates on YouTube. Yeah, but everywhere else except for YouTube, I am Diamond Disc, so you can definitely follow along there. That's Diamond Disc on Rumble and BitChute and Brighteon and all of those other places. So definitely follow along there if you don't mind. Subscribe, and certainly appreciate that. People sharing the videos, I definitely appreciate that. It definitely helps. So I found a few interesting memes. I wanted to mention these before we call it a night. Got some interesting comments I'll come back and take a look at as well. But 'tis better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to put a Harris sign in your yard and remove all doubt. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny one. It's a good one. World War III good, Orange Man bad. Another meme. And then I would like to suggest a government free zone or government free zones. Yes. Remember they had the free speech zones back during the Bundy altercation? The free speech zones. You had little fenced-in areas where you could have all the free speech you wanted. Well, this guy's suggesting government free zones. Yes. Not a bad idea. I am so glad that I don't have to actually hunt. I have no clue where gluten-free tacos live. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know where they live either. This is the cleanup crew for Kamala. You can see the media is following her closely behind. Good morning, sir. Have you accepted Kamala Harris as your Lord and Savior? Yes. You can see the strange people knocking on people's doors. That's not good. Obama wants black men to vote for Kamala because she is black. Imagine if we asked white people to vote for Trump because he is white. Well, it's not the same when you put it that way, is it? You know it's cold outside when you go outside and it's cold. Words of wisdom from Kamala. All right, let's go back and see what you guys are chatting about here. Let me see if I missed any interesting comments, and then we can wrap it up, call it a night for tonight. But they are forcing moisture away from our coast. Yeah, I didn't realize, or maybe I forgot that you lived in California, Kathy. Yeah, that's something that Mr. Dane's been talking about for a long time. Yeah, he's been talking about how they're using the high-pressure heat dome that's been basically stationary off of the west coast of California, specifically the west coast of Northern California is where the high-pressure heat dome is. They just leave it planted there so that it routes the jet stream up and around California and forces the moisture to go clear around it. And therefore, it dries it out. So that's why you guys have been in drought for so long. But it's been there in place for many years at this point. Something Dane's been talking about for a long time. She's the most cringe thing I can think of. She certainly is. She's really brought new meaning to that term, I think. I mean, I don't remember ever. I've heard the term cringe, but it's almost like it's become a whole Kamala thing. That's why the last video I want to play for you guys tonight is literally called Cringe Mala. That's the name of it. Yeah, the link for the band group is above. Yeah, thanks, Emily, for posting that. So yeah, join the band group if you want. Totally free, no commitments, and yeah, you can check that out. This is the page about it. Looks like 88 members right now, so that's not too bad. We're growing very slowly, but definitely follow me on Brighteon if you're on there. It's a good platform, Mike Adams platform. Brighteon, I'm Diamond Disc on there. And then BitChute, same thing, Diamond Disc. Many of you guys are on BitChute already. And then Rumble, of course. And yeah, got the numbers are increasing a little bit on all those platforms, so that's good. YouTube, though, like I said before, my numbers are going backwards on there, but I guess it's fine. At least I'm able to broadcast on there without too much issue. But I will have to take this show and edit out all of the medical misinformation. So watch for that. I'll post that final edited version on YouTube on Tuesday. So we will have that posted Tuesday, and that's also when I'll send out the links to all the Substack subscribers. You know who you are, and thank you guys for those who have contributed financially on Substack. It really helps me pay for the time and expense of the equipment and everything else for this particular show. So thank you guys for that very much. And then, of course, if you want to help with what I'm doing, I really appreciate that. One way is through Substack, and the other way, obviously, is through the store, which we've talked about many times. Lots of really good products, and thanks for the love, you guys. I see the hearts being blasted out there, and that's awesome. Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to mention was my X account, which is the Diamond Report on X, which is the Diamond RPRT. I had to abbreviate it to get it to fit in there, but almost to 200 followers on there, so that's good. Maybe to blame for increase in excess deaths, you think? So that's one tweet that I reposted there. If only there was one thing that could tie all these sadness together. Yeah, you would think there would be something in common there. And then you can see some interesting photos here. And then the Daily Mail's now posting things like this too. The astonishing link between having young, healthy women suffering coronaries. We just don't understand what's going on. And there's the third assassination attempt. And then I came across this one earlier today. Clinics have started again. How insane is this? So there's the people queuing up to go get the guys. How are people still this ignorant? How is that possible? Yeah, doctors are baffled. They always are. The doctors never know what's going on. They can't figure it out. They never ask the right questions, that's why. So some more stuff here about the hurricane cleanup. And then this meme, doctor, please just tell me the truth. The doctor says, I'm sorry, but the medical board will take away my license if I do that. And then another, that's soccer star George Baldock dies at 31. It's going to take 20 or 30 years of research to figure this out. Nobody's even going to have a clue in the meantime of why he died. Nobody knows. Mike Adams posted this, and I totally agree with this. This is the guy who funded and visited the construction of actual invasion camps with the sole purpose of invading and occupying the USA with illegals. He is arguably the most evil person in the federal government today. Yeah, and that's a pretty big argument. I mean, there's so many people who would be vying for that title. But Mayorkas is certainly in the top 2 to 3. Yeah, I mean, that's about as bad as it gets. I thought this one, we talked about J.D. Vance earlier tonight, and I thought this video clip's pretty funny. I'll play this one for you. This is something that Laura Loomer reposted.
I did want to point this out. J.D. Vance has no idea what these questions are, what the topics are. No idea. We didn't tell him beforehand. There's nobody in his ear, no cute earrings. There's nothing like that.
No.
So I'm just reminding everybody that this is all organic, okay?
I left my Bluetooth earrings at home, so.
Sorry.
That's funny. I left my Bluetooth earrings at home. Funny stuff. And, okay, going back to the Obama and Kamala thing, you got to hear this guy.
Hello, America, and hello, Georgia. I'm Vernon Jones, former state representative from the great state of Georgia, and I'm out doing my normal morning jog. By the way, it's a great day to be in Georgia. It's a beautiful fall day. But anyhow, I just had to pause for the cause. I, like many of you, observed and listened and watched Barack Obama last night as he addressed black men. But as a black man, he did everything but address us. What he did, he berated black men, he rebuked black men, he even scolded black men, primarily because we will not fall in line and vote for Madam Lock-Up-Her Brother, Kamala Harris, because that's her record. As if black men are too stupid that we can't vote our self-interest, what's best for us, our pocketbook, our families. As if we've been immune to the past 3.5 years, as if we don't know that gas prices have been higher under Kamala Harris, food prices higher under Kamala Harris, interest rates on home mortgages higher under Kamala Harris, and runaway borders under Kamala Harris. But you know what? That's what the liberal white Democratic Party did. They dispatched Barack Obama out there to whip black men back on the plantation to vote Democrat. And you know, President Obama, he meant a lot to black people, but he didn't do anything for black people. And for him to want to come down from his mansion in Martha's Vineyard and tell black men how we should vote, really? You don't even live in Chicago anymore. You left your black community, Barack Obama, and you want to tell us how to vote? We're not having that, and we're not voting for Kamala Harris.
Wow. Well said. I mean, could anybody say it any better than that? I don't think so. He comes down from his mansion in Martha's Vineyard, not in Chicago, not living with the black folks in Chicago. Nope, he's living with the white folks in Martha's Vineyard. It's worth an estimated, what, $75 or more million? Obama is? Yeah, high five that guy for sure. And speaking of which, this guy is classic. Still the best man on the street interview of all time. So this is a clip that's about 2 minutes long, but this guy is classic. You got to hear this one too. This one's not about the election. This is about Epstein and everything else.
And defund the police. You're no friend of ours. I mean, these people are the same people that rigged an election, rigged an investigation, and rigged an impeachment process against the American people, and they lost all three. I mean, they voted for a guy named Obama not once but twice, and he stole everything. That's why they were down on Epstein Island raping and eating those babies down there. Just look at the flight logs. They all knew who he was, what he did, where he did it. That's why they got on his plane to fly down there and do it with him. That's what the real problem is. It's pedophilia. And as soon as, everybody finds out that all these people are pedophiles, that's when the party really begins.
Yes, we got to expose them for who they really are and show people, give people the truth instead of
$5,000 worth of hot dogs. Please explain that to me. It's in their own emails.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I had one question for you. Why do you choose today not to wear a mask?
Well, the reason why I don't wear a mask is because it's not easy being a trendsetter. People think it's easy, but it's not. I mean, it's a 99.7% survival rate. Are you kidding me? I mean, you've got Bill Gates running around like a psychopath trying to cram his niece down my throat, and I'm doing just fine without it, Bill. Didn't you go down to Epstein Island yourself? Epstein and Weinstein just doesn't sound like a Presbyterian problem to us.
Well, thank you for sharing that, but of course, that does not go against basic safety procedures that we should be doing at a daily basis, washing your hands, staying at least horribly impossible.
I'd make out with you.
Well, and Stephen, it was so great talking with you. Thank you so much for your time. And do you have anything else you want to say, maybe to the Trump supporters who are watching who can't be out here?
Absolutely. Stars and bars, red, white, and blue home team, man. It's Trump 2020. They're throwing an octogenarian at us, struggling with dementia, trying to hide liquor on his breath, dealing with a son who just got a stripper pregnant down in Arkansas, cheating on his dead brother's wife.
Again, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. You have a blessed day. Well,
Classic stuff. Talking about Biden there at the end, and that's pretty amazing. And look how prescient that is. That's from 2020. So that was before the got roll out even. Oh yeah. So the Reese report. I should play this before we go. The Reese report on the Greater Israel and America's Holy War is something that is really interesting to me because I had literally just talked about this on last week's broadcast. Greater Israel. The Greater Israel Plan. You guys know about that? Were you here last week? Do you remember? I think it's interesting, though, that I was just mentioning this last week, and then Greg Reese comes out with a Reese report about the very same thing. So let's check this out. We'll watch this video, and then we'll come back, and then we'll wrap it up.
A recent video going viral shows Israel's finance minister saying that the Jewish state must extend into Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. But he's been saying this for over a year.
Look, the Jordanians, for starters, did not like the statement, but even less the setting of the stage, with Smotrich giving the statement he gave the address on the podium was a map of Greater Israel that includes parts of modern-day Jordan, and that's what got Amman to blast the statement. They said that Smotrich's actions constituted an act of reckless incitement as well as a violation of international norms and the peace agreement between Israel and Jordan. The deputy speaker of Jordanian parliament took it a step further, calling on the Jordanian military to, quote, take up arms, and saying that all options should be on the table for Jordan given the extremist statements.
Some Israeli soldiers wear the Greater Israel patch on their uniforms. Many Israelis believe it is prophesied by God, and the radical American prophecy Christians agree.
But what I'm saying is I believe eventually our borders will extend from Lebanon to the Great Desert, which is Saudi Arabia, and then from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates. And who's on the other side of the Euphrates? The Kurds. And the Kurds are our friends. So we have the Mediterranean behind us, the Kurds in front of us, Lebanon, which really needs the umbrella of protection of Israel. And then we're going to take, I believe we're going to take Mecca, Medina, and Mount Sinai and purify those places.
You know, it's going to happen.
Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that he wants his country to become a big Israel. And while young Ukrainians are sacrificed for the U.S. State Department war with Russia, Jewish settlers from Israel are setting up homes in their place. We are told that Israel is defending themselves from Hamas, but a leaked telegram from Israel states that Hamas served as a useful countergroup against the PLO. In 2019, Benjamin Netanyahu said, anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of a Palestinian state has to support bolstering Hamas and transferring money to Hamas. The CIA, MI6, Mossad, and their intelligence counterparts have a long history of fostering terrorist groups and using them as the boogeyman to sell non-stop illegal wars in the Middle East. And do not forget that after 9/11, the United States Department of Defense planned on invading 7 countries.
I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Israel and the United States continue to bomb Lebanon, murdering countless civilians, shooting young children in the head, and pushing closer to a war with Iran. A war that will inevitably pull Russia into the conflict. Why this is all happening is not entirely clear, but the late naval intelligence whistleblower, William Cooper, believed that he knew the answer.
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Yes, behold a pale horse. I think that is exactly what's going to happen. Have a look at Isaiah 17. Damascus, right? The Damascus prophecy. I think that's what's going to happen. I really do. So I thought that was laughable at best that the one guy in that video talks about how it's somehow Israel, it's their job to put an umbrella of protection around Lebanon. They are bombing Lebanon and murdering people left and right. And he wants them to be their protectors. So we're going to protect you while we're killing you. Yeah, rip Bill Cooper, exactly. Yeah, anyways, good video. I thought that was another really good one. So let's close with Cringe Mala, though. I know you guys probably will need a good laugh before you head off to bed for the night. So anyway, I just wanted to wish you all blessings and hope you have a great week this week. We'll do it all again next week. We have the next broadcast will be 10 p.m. on the 20th of October. We are nearing the end. Election day is looming, isn't it? Well, will we have an election? That's the question. So anyway, yeah, blessings to you all. Make sure you have Jesus in your life. That's the only way you can have peace. It really is. Is peace in the midst of the storm. That's the only way I can make it through. I can literally tell you that. So we've had some interesting family friend situations happen this week. If you were on the, if you happen to be on Band, I mentioned it in there, and I think that's the only place I put it. But I'll just leave it at that. We had some friends have some major crises happen this week. It was a really sad situation. So I thank you in advance for people who are praying for them. It means a lot to us. So anyway, hope you guys have a really great week and stay tuned for Cringe Mala. I know you want to see that one. So we'll see you guys next week. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Have empathy, man.
Yes.
For the suffering of other people. Have sense of purpose